Today I will be running through one of the 2023 thriller drama films titled Leave the World Behind. Please note that my video contains some spoilers, so chill out and enjoy it as I narrate for you. The first scene shows Amanda packing her bags while her husband is still nestled under the bedsheets. Clay wakes up and asks Amanda about her sudden packing. She explains that she wants to move to a peaceful place this weekend with the entire family. She has already booked a house on the internet as part of the arrangements. Clay agrees with her idea because he wants to see his family happy. Later they embark on the journey with the kids, Archie and Rose, to the remote house where they intend to spend the entire weekend. Later, when Amanda goes to the grocery store to get supplies, she notices a man named Danny loading his vehicle with a lot of canned food. After starting her vehicle and returning home, the entire family heads to the beach. As they settle down to eat their food, a big boat in the sea catches Rose's attention. All recline leisurely basking in the warm embrace of the sun's rays except Rose, who alerts them that the boat is moving faster toward them and that it's unlikely to stop. Amanda wakes up her husband and everyone starts to sprint out of its direction. The boat only stops when it can't move any further in the sand. The security team evacuated everyone, claiming the ship had lost control because its GPS wasn't working. After returning home, Amanda opens the laptop to read the news, but the Wi-Fi is unable to connect and the television isn't working either. They attempt to retrieve wine from the cellar only to find it locked and the house owner didn't leave the keys for them. At that moment someone knocks on the door. Scott, a man, and his daughter introduce themselves to them as property owners. Clay invites them in because it is cold outside, but Amanda argues that they can't interrupt their privacy because she rented the house for the whole weekend. She opens the laptop to file a complaint with the company, but the internet and phone signals are off. Scott explains that they were driving to the city but the entire town is under a blackout, so they're humbly requesting to spend the night with them. However, Amanda is not convinced that he is the property owner and she's not prepared to allow him to stay with them. To alleviate any doubts she may have, Scott takes out the keys and opens a drawer containing cash and a weapon. He hands over $1,000 to Clay as a refund to allow them to stay for one night. Clay accepts the cash, but Amanda gets very angry at her husband. She then takes him aside and scolds him for letting strangers stay with them under the same roof. Amanda begins questioning Scott's knowledge of the house before asking about his wife and his identification. He tells her that his wife is on a business trip and he forgot his wallet at the symphony. The TV turns on automatically with a loud voice stating that all the city lights are off due to the national emergency. Clay believes their story and then allows them to sleep in the basement. Ruth can't believe that she's going to sleep in the basement of their own house. She tells her father to throw Amanda's family out since he has already refunded their money. However, Scott calms her down and assures her that he will decide what to do next morning. Amanda perceives Scott is deceiving them, prompting her to ask if Clay has informed them about the ship incident, a question that equally perplexes him. The television screen shows the message that there is a global cyberattack. Rose wakes up Amanda in the morning and says that she wants to watch the last season of the Friends series, but there is no internet connection. Amanda informs her that there's a national blackout, so she has to wait. Rose walks outside angered. Suddenly, she spots a deer and feels intrigued enough to check it out. There are a lot of deer gathered around the garden's edge. Amanda wakes up to warm herself up with coffee. Ruth also arrives and requests a cup of coffee, which sparks their conversation, asking what Amanda and Clay do. Amanda says that she is in advertising and Clay is a college professor. Amanda discusses the blackout with Scott and informs him about the cyberattack warning messages she received on her phone. Ruth adds that hackers may have attacked the powerhouse, crippling the whole system. Amanda asks Scott whether he has any updates and the necessary actions to take. He says that this cyberattack scenario is similar to the early 2000s. Two kids from the Philippines sent a bug to the subject "I love you" in the emails that halted many businesses. Amanda looks worried, then excuses herself to go check on Archie and Ruth. Scott also looks worried because he has lost communication with his wife. In an attempt to learn about current events, Clay drives to the next town to buy newspapers, only to find himself lost due to his unfamiliarity with the place. Rose tells Archie that she saw a lot of deer trying to tell her something this morning. Then they both decide to venture into the woods to discover their whereabouts. Scott drives to the neighborhood to find something useful. He comes across an abandoned house and spots a satellite phone box inside, then walks in through the already open door. Scott gets the radio, but his efforts are fruitless because there's no satellite signal. Clay finds a troubled woman desperately looking for help, but she only speaks Spanish. Rose and Archie find an abandoned cabin in the woods and get inside to discover its interior. The Spanish lady tries as much as possible to communicate with Clay, but he does not understand anything, so he steps on the gas and drives away. Scott finds himself walking on the beach. He suddenly finds a watch in the sand, and when he pulls it out, a human hand comes along with it. He collapses down, revealing a pilot's corpse and plane debris. A conventional pile of flyers flies in Clay's direction. He races his car to get home while another airplane noses down into the sand. Scott barely saved his life by running into the abandoned house. Ruth and Amanda sit beside the pool while waiting for Rose and Archie to come back. Scott returns home with dirt and soaked clothes. He sends Ruth away, then tells Amanda that he's convinced that someone knocked out the set light, so they should expect something worse than this to come. He informs her that he did not find a single person alive outside when he tried to get some help. Because she's hiding behind the wall, Ruth listens to everything they discuss. Suddenly a supersonic sound starts, and when the sound intensifies, Amanda runs into the woods. Once it stops, her kids join her and get to the house. Archie informs them that he feels dizzy. Amanda suggests both her kids go to their rooms to get some rest. Then she confronts Scott to tell them what's really happening. She believes that he's hiding something from them. Scott tells her to wait until Clay returns, but she is not ready to wait until he says loudly that he witnessed a plane crash due to a damaged satellite system. Because of that, he believes a doomsday is happening. Ruth gets worried about her mom, who is on her way back from her business trip. Clay comes back home and gives them a paper that reads "Death to America." They speculate that America is under terrorist attack. Amanda then decides to leave with her family in their car for New Jersey to stay with her sister. After they leave, Scott assures his daughter that the plane he saw crashing was not for her mother. Clay races the car, but he suddenly stops after hearing siren sounds from vehicles in the traffic jam. All are new Teslas and driverless. Amanda advises Clay to start their vehicle because all the cars are auto-driving. Because of the damaged satellite system, the cars bang into each other. Amanda's family has nowhere else to go but back to Scott's house. Archie feels sweaty in his room while Clay sits down with Ruth on the poolside. Amanda and Scott are drinking and talking about their lives. Scott tells her why he and his daughter had to return to this house. Many years ago, he had a friend and client in the Pentagon's Defense Department. One day he invited him to a house party, and after getting drunk, the man started to tell him about the annual meeting of evil cabals with the people who run the world. Because the man was laughing, he assumed it was a joke. Scott tells her that the same friend called him yesterday and asked him to transfer a lot of money. Then he told him to take care of himself. He sounded serious and did not laugh at any of his jokes. Scott holds the belief that influential individuals are responsible for these events, not terrorists. Rose asks Archie about the internet's return. She's lost her cool and wants to watch the last episode of The Friends. Clay informs Ruth that he found a troubled lady on the way but didn't help her because he was also afraid and confused. Scott tells Amanda that he is concerned about his wife's safety and that he might not see her again. When the supersonic noise hits again, the lights and glasses break. Amanda and her family sleep in the same bed. That's when she realizes that Archie has a fever because his body temperature is rising. Rose wakes up and tells her mom the story of a man who always prayed to God for his safety when his town flooded. A boat and a helicopter came to save him, but he refused their help because he wanted God to come save him. The man died, and in heaven he complained to God that he did not help him. But he was told that all the signs and 3 helpers were sent, but the man didn't recognize them. Rose informs her mother that they have received sufficient warnings and their time is over. Ruth is afraid, so she asks Scott to sleep with her. She complains to him that she doesn't trust Amanda because she is too rude to her and Clay wants to take advantage of her. Ruth warns her father that letting them back into their house is a huge mistake. Scott promises that he will save her in every situation. The next day, Rose was already up and out of bed and Archie's fever had gone, but when he got up he pulled his teeth one by one. Amanda becomes frightened and she urges him to stop it. Archie informs them of his encounter with a bug in the woods. He thinks this is the reason his teeth are shedding. Amanda wants to get in touch with a doctor. Scott tells her that it is going to be difficult to find a doctor, but he relaxes and tells her he'd go to his neighbor Danny to see if he had stored medicine. Scott says that Danny is an underground bunker contractor, so he believes he is prepared for disasters like this. Suddenly Amanda and Clay realize that Rose is missing in the house. Amanda rushes to look for her while Archie starts puking. Scott and Clay decide to take him to Danny's house for first aid, but Ruth doesn't want her father to leave her alone. But Scott promised that he would come back soon. Amanda and Ruth begin to search for Rose in the woods, but she is nowhere to be seen. When they enter the cabin, Amanda yells at Ruth, which makes her sad. She tells Amanda that she's missing her mother, who might be dead somewhere in the ocean. Amanda apologizes, saying that she understands what she is going through. A group of deer surrounds and traps them. Scott stops by a neighbor's house, but Danny orders them to stay away from his porch or he will shoot them. When Danny is still hesitant to help them, Scott takes out his gun. Clay quickly intervenes between them and pleads to help his son. Danny thinks that the radiation has caused Archie's teeth to fall. Amanda and Ruth use their ingenuity to shout at the group of deer until they dispersed. Danny agrees to offer Archie some medicine once he learns that money is involved. Scott sits in the vehicle and then discloses to Clay that he saw this coming. To destabilize and collapse any country, the enemy does three things. In the first stage, they disrupt communication by breaking all the networked and satellite connections. In the second stage, they spread misinformation and chaos to turn people against each other. The third stage is the civil war, which is happening now. Ruth and Amanda stop in the woods to see the ashes and clouds of fire from the city's explosions. A powerful evil cabal is toppling the government. Rose goes to a nearby house, where she finds food and drinks to quench her thirst. She then searches the entire house and comes across an open stealth door. Once she walks inside and turns on the lights, it's an underground bunker that can provide her with a safe haven because food and communication systems are available. The screen signals an attack on the country, advising people to seek safe shelter. Rose uncovers CD collections and then takes out the last episode of the sitcom Friends. The girl happily sits down to watch the final season's episode. Clay and Scott's family fate remains unknown as the movie comes to an end. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications to watch more of my videos. Have a good day.